of the 49ers. Greg Papa here with me, Jason Ross. Greg, how are you?
Good morning, Jace. How are you? Dave's got the holidays off.
He took this last week off, and I know I don't know if he's going to Vegas. I'm thinking about you, Greg. Your job just lends itself to travel, holidays, Christmas, but a New Year's in Vegas. Has that happened for you before?
A New Year's in Vegas? No, I don't think it has.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a Mardi Gras in New Orleans. So you really need to do that.
Yeah.
A little bit overkill.
Yeah.
I don't need that. I'm not a big New Year's Eve guy anyway.
Okay.
I can't remember the last time I actually went on a New Year's Eve, but and this year's a little bit odd because we got New Year's Eve in Vegas and it's Raiders and 49ers.
Yeah.
Which is going to be insane. So I was going to go into Las Vegas today and maybe get a little bit out of the way because I've got a lot of friends obviously still with the Raiders. But the airline, I don't know if you've heard, we've had a little bit of an airline situation in our country. So
yeah.
I'm just going to fly with the team and then spend a little time afterwards. So
nice.
I'll do a little party maybe after the game after they get this win. But we didn't know when the schedule was going to provide us Raiders 49ers. I'm not in love with the fact that being on New Year's Day. I mean, it's kind of fitting. With the two fan bases getting together for a party in the desert. But it's a little weird. The team is not going anywhere near the Strip. When we land tomorrow, we're going to go right to Henderson, about 30 miles away. And it's just hard to get there. I think they shut the Strip down at about 5 o'clock. So even if you want to go in after we get to the hotel, it's going to be difficult. So it makes it a little bit more unwieldy. But obviously, we're looking for great energy. A little disappointed that Derek Carr is not going to play the game for the Raiders, but they got a lot of weapons around the quarterback. But no, this will be my first New Year's Eve in Las Vegas.
Well, I wanted to start there with you, Greg. I know we'll get plenty into the 49ers, but all your years with the Raiders, you have connections, friends, as you said, with this organization for all the years you worked with them. I personally think they're making a mistake. That's my belief on the Derek Carr. I know it's a financial thing and so on and so forth, but your take on the decision to basically seemingly be done with Derek Carr as a Raider?
Well, the timing of it, Jason, makes little sense. I mean, they are not mathematically eliminated. I know it is remote. They have to create a 16 tie between 6 and 7 in the AFC. It's extremely remote. I understand that. So I get it, but they're still alive. So Al Davis is turning in his grave right now. Al would not kick games even when they were on their way to a 3-win season or a 2-win season. He wouldn't do that. So for them to pull the plug on the year before the season is officially mathematically over I've never seen a team do it. But beyond that, I think it's time for them to move on from Derek. When they brought John Gruden in, Ken and I was still there. That off season was the mantra from the organization, and Mark Davis specifically was to fix the broken car. Derek had lost his way with Jack Del Rio. He had lost his confidence, and he wasn't playing well. He was in 2016. He was a top candidate for league MVP. I think he finished third that year, and then he got hurt on Christmas Eve. Couldn't play in the playoff game against Houston, and it hasn't gone as well. John did fix him, but of course John, broke himself and the whole thing last year. And they brought in Josh McDaniels. So the way they structured the contract, it looked like they were committing it to him, but they really were not. They had an escape hatch 3 days after the Super Bowl, and they're going to exercise that. I think it is time for him to move on. He's just he's throwing the ball to the other team way too much. And I know that Pittsburgh game, Jason, was tough to deal with the weather, but wow. I mean, just terrible. And I just don't see him driving the ball. He's just lobbing the ball. He's become like a changeup pitcher. And even on time, there are times he does have great, arm angles, and he can drop it over the top and, fit it in. And there are times you do that, but there are also times where Devontae Adams is running a sit-down route, and you got two guys around him, and you got to fire that thing in there. He's just not. There's so many times where I'm like, what's right? Is his arm okay? Why is he not ripping that ball right there? He's got to get that in there. The window's going to close. So a lot of misses with that, and then just ball placement. So he's not throwing the ball as well as he has, certainly. So I think they're going to move on, clearly. Then the question would be, with Josh's ties to Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo, where would he go there? And then, where does Derek go? Will be the next interesting part of this equation. So I'm not surprised they're doing it before the end of the year, Chase. I'm just surprised they're doing it right now because mathematically they are not eliminated.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the Niners. Things are going so well there, Greg. Winners of 8 in a row. They look so complete. We've talked all season long, and you've said it from the beginning. This is a special defense. They're playing like it. Bosa's going to get the Defensive Player of the Year. Offense is now cruising, and it looks like it could even be getting better sooner. What's the update on a return of Mitchell and even Deebo?
Deebo started the work yesterday. He was definitely mixing in. I don't think he's going to play in this game. But he's starting to run. You can see he was kind of half speed. Now there are times when he's running like Deebo, and so I don't think he'll play in this game. But I think the Arizona game, maybe at the end of the year, he could be available. Elijah, I haven't seen Elijah. He may practice today, but I think at some point, maybe the Arizona game or certainly wild card weekend, unless they get the 1 seed and we're off that weekend, you're going to see Deebo and you're going to see Elijah. And on top of McCaffrey, and Brandon Ayuk is running as fast as I've ever seen him. George Kittle is healthy right now and just going off. So, and Brock's the great point guard. He's getting the ball. He's like John Stockton. He's just getting the ball to the open guy, and his footwork and everything. He's just playing so well. But one thing about the defense, Jason, they've been great all year, and it's so hard to run on them. And I think the matchup of this game is Josh Jacobs, the leading rusher in the NFL, with over 1,500 yards against this suffocatingly, just impossible to move front of the 49ers. But they're busting too much in the secondary. They're just too many touchdowns they're giving up in pass plays, and I think 2/3 of them have been just their own mistakes. They're just not tight. So as you look ahead to this game, and the Raiders got Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and Mac Hollins, and they got Darren Waller and Foster Moreau. They've got guys even with Stidham playing a quarterback over Derek. They got guys that can make you look bad. Devontae is one of the best receivers in football. We've seen a lot of him, obviously, against the Packers in the last few years. So they are defending the run really well, but they've got to do a better job in the secondary. I think it's just been a miscommunication a lot of times. You get into a playoff game, Jason, and you're busting like that against a good team. You may wind up getting cost a trip to the Super Bowl.
Speaking of that, I know the players and coaches would never say, "Hey, this is what we would prefer." We know the Niners are in. You watch all these teams. You know the league so well, Greg, and I think they could beat everybody, honestly, in the NFC home or road. But what do you think as you look at kind of the playoff roadmap? What would be the best path for this 49er team as far as matchups?
Well, obviously, getting up to 1 and not having to play wild card weekend, having to bye, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Philadelphia is going to win 1 of the remaining games, even though I think Jalen Hurts is legitimately hurt. I think that's a bad injury. It reminded me a lot of the Garoppolo injury last year, where his elbow was buried into the ground, and then his shoulder was on top of that. But I think they'll find a way to be the 1. So the ideal thing, what you're looking at this weekend, is beat the Raiders, have Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, beat Minnesota, and then get that 2nd seed. And then that way you're assured a home playoff game in wild card weekend. You win that game, you're assured as the 2 seed, a home playoff game week 2 in the divisional. And then as far as who's going to be, I think Green Bay's got a good chance to be 7. We'll see where it goes. If you're 2, you play 7. If you're 3, you play 6. Those are the options right now, assuming you're not 1. Mm-hmm. So I think any one of those matchups would be, 49ers would be fine. What I'm looking at is get to 2, and then Dallas, is the 5 seed.
Yeah.
And then whoever wins the NFC South would be the 4. So that's going to be decided this weekend between Tampa Bay and Carolina. And then I think Dallas could go on the road and beat either one of those teams. So if they do that, Jace, they go to Philadelphia the next game, and that would be Philly off their bye, assuming they're 1. And maybe Jalen Hurts doesn't play at all until that weekend. Dallas upsets Philadelphia. I don't think it'd be a big upset, but they're the number 1 seed, and they've had home field. So the 49ers could play 2 games at Levi's and then still host the NFC Championship game. against Dallas. So that's kind of the scenario. I don't think it's that far-fetched. We'll see where it goes, but that's the one I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I know this weekend will be fun, unique. That's going to be great energy in Vegas. Greg, we look forward to your call. We look forward to you talking to you next week. Happy New Year, and see if the Niners can make it 9 in a row.
Thanks. I know one thing. When I get into Vegas casinos, and for many years, Chase, I would go black. You got to go red.
There you go.
Bet on red.
Yep.
It's always red versus black. You got to go red. There's no doubt.
It has changed. All right, Greg. Thank you so much. Have a great call.
Thank you, man.
All right, that's the great Greg Papa joining us. Yeah, I mean, again, the interesting stuff. He thinks it is time for the Raiders to move on from Derek Carr, and then certainly the Niners are going a little concerned about that secondary, but otherwise everything is smooth sailing right now for San Francisco. All right.